We've got Scott Martin, a Kingsview asset manager, the CIO, Fox News contributor, and a brainiac.
Somewhat.
If you think about it, Scott, the rate cut thing shouldn't have shocked, I think, Wall Street yesterday. It did, I guess, maybe because it's not coming in March. But you had been warning it's not coming in March.
Maybe never.
Well, yeah, this year might not happen at all. But the tax cut thing that I used to think, all right, I've heard them kicking this around. But this broad agreement on some pretty attractive goodies in there.
It's kind of shocking because the narrative was, well, it's just only going to help the rich. We don't have the money to pay for it, et cetera, mainly on the left side of things. And now that there's some agreement on at least something, I mean, that's the thing, whether it's 78 or whether it's 48, whether it's 58, there's an agreement here. And there's been lack of agreement across the board for the last 3 years, pretty much, in the House and Senate. So the fact that the market sees that.
Before a new president, if it came to that, comes in. So that could all die in the vine, I guess. But this is, I don't want to get in the weeds here, but guys, this is much further along than people said. So House is one thing. I know the Senate's another battle. I know there are probably going to be moves on the part of the Trump forces. Don't do anything to spoil
That's right.
Party.
Don't
so
exactly, which is the thing that maybe Biden and his cronies could be like, hey, guys, could you get together on something here? Because I've blown it. I need your help. Otherwise, you're going to have Trump or whoever else. And let's do something together for once. Can you imagine the momentum that would create going into the election?
Incredible.
It'd be better than Taylor Swift running. Maybe. Maybe not.
No, she's too busy torpedoing the election. I can't believe that.
I almost said Britney Spears because I could be like Biden and mix them up.
I believe that madness, but that's a whole separate thing. But let me ask you about how the markets are today. Is this more real for you or yesterday?
Wow, great question, man. That's why you have your own shows, and many of them.
I don't know if you saw my name. It's over there.
I see it. It scrolls too. Yeah. I mean, that's a big deal.
Exactly.
It moves around. You're everywhere.
That's enough out of you.
It's yes, sir. It's one of those days, Neil, yesterday where that's the market getting a grip on reality and freaking out. I mean, you saw the NASDAQ, the S&P dive after Powell confirmed.
He didn't help matters any because Jerome Powell felt the need to reassure them, you guys are having a good time.
Let's be real.
Let me ruin it.
Mom and Dad are pulling into the driveway. It's 12 o'clock.
Right.
It's time for everybody to go home. You spilled grape juice on the couch cushion. Flip it over and we'll come back later. And that actually happened to me about 5 years ago. Yes, I was still with my parents. However, it's one of those things where now the market sees the next day and says, okay, fine. If March isn't coming, maybe we'll have a cut by the election. Maybe we won't have a cut because things are actually going to be okay economically, which isn't bad either.
Well, let me ask you this, Scott. As far as people who still have recession on the table, still worried about debt, they're always also worried to climb. I get that. But how do you sort of see? February is usually the toughest month in these presidential election years. So how do you see it going?
I think February is going to be challenging because earnings season is upon us, and it's so far. In fact, everything was baked in, like you said, Neil, to have this amazing earnings season. And you've seen companies like Google and Microsoft come out, be very good on the current, but not so great on the forward. Tesla, too. And those have hurt stocks tremendously. So there's probably some pullback due because of the fact that the party was going on without any parents home. Now the parents are pulling in to the driveway, as I said, and they're knocking on the door or going in with their keys.
You must have been a horrible teenager.
Gosh, man, I'm just having flashbacks of things I did wrong in high school. I'll tell you.
I was reading. I was in the library.
I bet. At like 1 a.m., I'm sure, in the stacks. But however, Neil, eventually things will work themselves out. However, as we get closer to the election, seeing how that develops, and Iran, things with China, there's a lot of geopolitical things that are still out there that are not getting resolved that the market can be worried about. We always worry about those so-called black swan developments, right? And there are a lot of black swans wandering around. The widening war could be one. Lloyd Austin today saying it's not going to happen. I think he all but said we're not even at war with Iran. That was news to me and Iran. We're not even concerned. It's like Jake Sullivan. Everything's cool in the Middle East. Oh, yeah.
But that's a wild card, right?
Yes.
But it's not disrupting the market.
It's not. And here's what I would tell, and what we tell our clients is, if we do have an exogenous event like that, use it as an opportunity.
Use big words.
That was a big one. SATs in 1996.
Very good.
Exogenous, again, to use that. If that happens, if it's something kind of distracting as far as a war, use that as a buying opportunity, Mr. or Mrs. Investor, because that will create some fear, which is the time to go in, not when you're chasing a rally like this.
Now, I noticed the 10-year dip. Kevin, can we see that again, the 10-year? That's well under 4% again.
6 basis points down today.
So what happened there? There's nothing indicating weakness. So
it's very strange because on other days like this, where we're having maybe the rally after a sell-off, usually they sell off bonds as well, so rates go up, especially given what Powell said.
What's causing
it? Could be some war-related stuff. The fact that everybody flocks to treasuries just to park some money, just to kind of hang out, and the yield being at 4%. To your point, not too bad still, even though it's off of 5.
CD rates are amazing, nice.
They're nice.
Usually insured. The Treasury rates are usually insured. I mean, with very little risk. I'm just wondering, could that prove competition for stocks?
I think eventually it will be, especially as volatility ticks up, and also the fact, too, that you haven't had CD rates, money market rates in that realm for, gosh, man, since before the financial crisis.
Right.
Back to when you were a young man.
Yes. The bet, I'm talking about the 29 period. Yeah. Right. Let me ask you about March seems off for a rate cut. That's the betting, or was bet. I don't know why it was ever the betting. You didn't.
Crazy.
Say that. So if we do get a rate cut, I'm not so sure we will, but when is it more likely?
It's probably right before the election, which then makes the Fed look political in a way.
Okay.
And also, Neil, if you look at the history of the markets, the market does the best when the Fed's out of the way. Neither cutting nor hiking. So if they're cutting again, there's some issues. I mean, I got married in 2007.
Wow.
My one-year anniversary got blown apart in September because we were cutting like crazy because the markets were exploding to the downside. 125 basis points of cutting in 2 weeks, emergency cuts from Bernanke and Company. When that starts going down, not to say that'll happen here, but if we have cuts, the Fed's over-tightened, and then we got to under-tighten it. It just under-loosen. It makes it even hard to say, but it makes the markets all weirded out. So if the Fed
you bullish?
I'm bullish. If the Fed stays out of the way, buddy.
Got it. Well,
chill, baby, chill.
That's a wild card.
Yes.
Scott, good seeing you. Scott Martin at Kingsview Asset Management. Love having Scott on. So young, though, I'm sorry.
Catching up, man.
Yeah, I wish that were the case.